before I leave, and that is a lot of the people, I know a lot of people sitting here, a lot of people sitting at home, and I'm talking about you big fat man sitting there drinking your beer and your wife looking at the television adoring hot stuff. A lot of people have said that I am not a true champion. They have said, a lot of people, rumors have it that I cheated to win the belt, rumors have it that I cheated to keep the belt. I never tell a lie, and what I want to tell you, and I want to tell all of you people at home is, I want to go right now on record and saying, if there's any doubt in anybody's mind that I am willing, and I am issuing a challenge to anybody at all, anytime, any place they want to, brother. You're looking at the #1 contender now in the UWF. You're looking at the television champion, and I'll wrestle you. I'll wrestle anybody that wants a shot at me.
Looks like Ken Mantell making his way to the ring, Jim.
No, wait a minute. Let me make sure I have this straight. You as a champion, the TV champion, you are issuing the challenge to anybody. Anybody, anytime, any place, anywhere.
You know, I heard you say that you defend that belt against anybody, anytime. Is that right?
Anybody, anytime, any place. I'll tell you what, folks. I'll tell you what. I even make it a little bit better for you, sir, because I know you're one of the non-believers, too, me being a champion and everything. Just as long as they're in the top 10.
You'll wrestle anybody.
Anybody.
And you'll do it here now.
Now, yes.
Long as he's in the top 10.
He's got to be in the top 10, so nobody can think otherwise than I'm not a champion.
You know, there's a lot of people in the top 10 that would like to come out here and take that belt from you.
That's right. I'm giving them their chance. Anybody, you pick them. Anybody.
Me pick them.
You pick them right now.
You know, on the last UWF show, when you demanded that title match, you were pretty smooth, Eddie.
Yeah.
A lot of good manipulation going on there.
Right.
I can pick him top 10, anybody right here tonight.
Right.
All right. We'll defend it here in this show. And your opponent will be none other than Sting.
Wow! Whoa!
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. And later on, we will have a UWF TV title match. This match for the UWF Television Championship, 1 fall or television time remaining.
You know, I noticed the Iceman wandered down a little bit behind Sting, and he was trying to catch up with him and converse with him.
Well, Iceman has some unique ways of reasoning. His rationale is a little off balance. I wonder what's going on here. I'm sure Eddie got Iceman off to the side and said, "Hey, you know, what can you say? What can we do?"
Well, I don't know. You know, Sting they never allow him to talk on interviews. He's always been kind of pushed back to the corner.
Look at Eddie.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'd feel the same way. He stuck his foot in his mouth by challenging anybody in the top 10, and Mantell just closed it up.
The high 5 or high 10 or whatever.
See, there may be a lot of build-up inside of Sting of being always put back from the spotlight.
Iceman apparently couldn't get the job done. He's not too happy.
It looks like he's going to go for it.
And the bell rung. What's Sting doing? Sting, the bell has rung.
He's got something on his mind. He's going to go through with it, Jim.
I got something to say. I can't believe that all of you people and the UWF officials, Kenny Mantell, you think that I'm going to go up against Eddie Gilbert. This guy, no, wait a second now. I've been through thick and thin with this guy right here. He's the best friend I got in the UWF or anywhere. He took me through the first tag team championship, and I know he's going to take Steiner and me to another tag team championship. So, you're not going to pull one on the Stinger, no way. Hot Stuff International gets the last laugh. Referee, ring the bell. Eddie, you're the champion.
Now, I have to look at him and wonder, is he trying to convince the people or himself of that?
Adams in, but Eddie Gilbert on the outside of the ring with the UWF Tag Team title belt, and Chris Adams reverses it, firing Sting's head into the turnbuckle. Eddie Gilbert's plan backfired. Oh man, Adams just about had the 3 count as Edwin Falk signals a 2 count. Adams pounding his head on the mat. It looks like Adams is planning his next move. Could it be the super kick? Sting getting up very slowly. It looks like Adams is setting for it. Here it comes. If he connects, and he does. Man, he just about took Sting's head off. Eddie Gilbert trying to revive Sting on the outside of the ring. But Sting has got to be out. Oh, it looks like Sting is lacerated. He is in bad shape. Eddie Gilbert's just standing there. What's he doing? Oh man, he took the ankle of Chris Adams while Edwin Falk was distracted by Taylor and Steiner on the outside of the ring. Edwin Falk down for the count. Sting hooks the leg and secures the 3 count. Terry Taylor on the outside of the ring, still fighting with Steiner. He thinks they won the match. He was distracted just like Falk was. What a match. How in the world could Edwin Falk ever keep up with it? It looks like Sting and Steiner are the new tag team champions.
Deserve all the punishment they're having dished out. Right now you see Tim Horner executing a beautiful drop kick. Steiner going out to the floor. This is just unbelievable.
Armstrong taking over on Sting, but Steiner with a cheap shot to the kidneys. And now Horner knocking Steiner back outside.
And what's this? What's Eddie Gilbert up to now? Now as if his men can't control the battle, now he's in there. And now turning it around. Unbelievable. Eddie Gilbert's going to the floor. He's knocked his own man senseless. We've got a 1, 2, 3. We got the new World Tag Team Champions right here. The Lightning Express, the new UWF World Tag Team Champions. Unbelievable, Jim Ross.
Gilbert's plan backfired. And what we have right here on the Universal Wrestling Federation is you are looking at the new World Tag Team Champions, the Lightning Express. They're going to the throne room. The trophy case will be filled with championship belts.
What an unbelievable matchup this has been. The action has been fast-paced, grueling from the very beginning. Everybody
Distracted just like Falk was. What a match. How in the world could Edwin Falk ever keep up with it?
With the tag titles came tremendous notoriety for Sting and Steiner. Reportedly, Hot Stuff became upset that his awesome young duo was getting more publicity than himself. Lightning struck the tag champions on UWF Wrestling in Tulsa, Oklahoma, when Brad Armstrong and Tim Horner, the Lightning Express, upset Steiner and Sting for the titles. And Hot Stuff's presence was sorely felt.
We've got a 1, 2, 3. We got the new World Tag Team Champions right here. The Lightning Express, the new UWF World Tag Team Champions. Unbelievable, Jim Ross.
Gilbert's plan backfired. And what we have right here on the Universal Wrestling Federation is you are looking at the new World Tag Team Champions, the Lightning Express. They're going to the throne room. The trophy case will be filled with the championship belts.
What an unbelievable matchup this has been. The action has been fast-paced, grueling from the very beginning. Everybody is on their feet here in this arena. This is the most exciting match I've ever witnessed ringside in my whole entire life. New World Tag Team Champions right here. Brad Armstrong, Tim Horner, the Lightning Express has definitely made their mark here in the Universal Wrestling Federation.
Horner and Armstrong. I'll tell you what, Horner, it's jubilation here on Universal Wrestling Federation. The young men, they said, Jim, we just want a chance. We just want a chance to go for it. They have gone all the way. Horner and Armstrong have gone the distance, and they are the new UWF World Tag Team Champions, and we've got more coming your way after this timeout.
All right.
But was this an accident? Or did Gilbert want his team to lose the titles and to embarrass the already popular Sting for losing the deciding fall? We may never know for sure.
And he has planted Taylor.
Gilbert and Sting's personal and professional relationship finally shattered in Little Rock, Arkansas. While Sting wrestled Terry Taylor, a man Gilbert was openly recruiting, Hot Stuff let his true feelings be known.
Back in so he can count the fall. But Taylor has the boot of, and he hit him right in the face with that cowboy boot. He hit Sting right in the face with a boot.
Unbelievable turn of events. That boot spelled so much trouble for Sting already, and now yet another loss going down to the boot of Eddie Gilbert.
Terry Taylor accepted the boot from Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. Gilbert showing no allegiance, no feelings whatsoever with his protege Sting. And look at Gilbert and Taylor at ringside. It's really repulsive. Gilbert has finally and seemingly gotten to Terry Taylor, but Terry Taylor took advantage of the moment, and he has won this match in so much controversial fashion.
Terry Taylor has definitely stooped his low.
Sting, the man who once refused an opportunity on national television to wrestle Gilbert for the television title because Eddie was, quote, his friend, has now promised to cost Hot Stuff the same championship. Gilbert and Taylor may have started a war the magnitude this sport has never seen.
This is the Pro Wrestling Spotlight, presented by HAMIN Media and the Pro Wrasslin Reflection, where we discuss the very best of the best in pro wrestling history.
And what's it gonna do when Hulkamania and the largest arms in the world run wild on you?
The two soundest wrestlers in the World Wrestling Federation, maybe in the history of the World Wrestling Federation, are right here, right now. Mr. Perfect and the excellence of execution, the Hitman.
WrestleMania weekend isn't complete without the Heartbreak Kid, and he is on his way.
He put hard times on Dusty Rhodes and his family.
They think they got the answers. I change the question.
You will rest in peace.
Get used to it in Ric Flair. Who you're looking at, the man.
What is going on there, Reflectionites? What is going on there to the Vetoites? What is going on there to the HAMINites? And what is going on there to the PWCites? And before we go on, we got to do our commercial spots here. This PWR podcast is sponsored by Rogaine. Oh, I got another commercial. This PWR podcast is sponsored by Nike sneakers. Oh, wait, I got another sponsor. This PWR podcast is brought to you by the NBA and NHL playoffs 2026. If you don't get the joke, Reflectionites, I can never explain it to you. But again, if you watched WrestleMania, you saw hundreds and hundreds of commercials. You saw a lot of stuff, they're trying to sell you everything. They were trying to sell you general auto insurance. They were trying to sell you whiskey. They were trying to sell you, some food substances. They were trying to sell you some other drinks. But again, it is what it is. But if you got past those commercials and focused on the matches, you had a hell of a WrestleMania hangover. So with that being said, we welcome you to the relief of that WrestleMania hangover, the PWR podcast here at the HAMIN Media Group at Podbean.com. And shout out to the 168 subscribers on the Professor's YouTube channels. 1 subscriber a week. I love it. 1 subscriber, maybe 2 subscribers a week. Let's see if we get a blitz. Tell a friend to subscribe to the Professor's YouTube channel, where you can see the video versions of me, moi, the Professor, and me just trying to keep a straight face, watching TW look around, check his inventory, sometimes just make me almost try to break character and laugh my ass off. But again, neither here nor there. But before we get into that, this is a special Spotlight edition. This is a Spotlight Babyface Turns edition. Before we get into that, I must introduce myself because I am vain like that. I must introduce myself so I can get the grays out of my hair and the grays out of my nose and the grays out of my fucking toes. God damn it. If you got gray hair on your toes, you're getting old. You're close to death and all that shit. But anyway, I am the charismatic one. I am the affluent one, but most importantly, I am the glorious one. The only objective man in this IWC, YWC, PWC punditry. The only objective man in this political hemisphere. The only objective man in this Twitterverse. And you know what? We're still in wartime, TW, but neither here nor there. But again, hopefully, they get their shit together so, the oil prices can go down. But I am your friend, the Professor Chabeza Cruz. And not here alone. No. I'm here with the conservative liberal, the liberal conservative, the solo idiot, Dr. Frickin' Stein, the iron stomach one. And he kind of feels a little bit bad because, we're recording this, a couple of days before the weekend starts when you hear the audio version. But the number one seed in the NBA playoffs, the Detroit Pistons, got their asses handed to them by the Orlando Magic. Hopefully, it's a one-off and they'll win in that gentleman sweep in 5 games. But he's here with us and he's here to talk some nostalgia. Your friend of mine, the undisputed, undeniable Detroit Rock City Universal Heavyweight Champion of the world, the Tommy Wonder. How you doing, my friend? Uh-oh.
You froze.
No, you're back. You're back.
You're back. You froze on me.
I'm
get to this part yet?
Yeah, I already did it. You're the undisputed, undeniable. How you doing, my friend?
Well, 2 things. 1, they say you're not in trouble until you lose one at home. They're in trouble. 2, it's a good thing I'm not a basketball fan.
Hey, but what if you get tickets to Little Caesars to watch a Pistons playoff game? You're going to go.
Absolutely, but I'm not paying for them if someone gives them me. I mean, I'll support them, and I hope they win, but I was at a house party. Well, not a house party. You already know I got a new dog, Jovi, named after Jersey's own Bon Jovi. And our friends have 2 of her sisters that they adopted, and then I adopted her. Well, Saturday, Tony and I went, and Tony adopted a dog, Suki, that looks just like those dogs, but not even the same breed. But when the 4 of them get together, they all met yesterday. Well, Jovi met Suki Saturday. Jackson met Suki Saturday, and all 3 of them had a good time in the backyard. It was a very, very cool place. But yesterday we took her to meet her other 2 now sisters, and we watched WrestleMania because I was like, I'm only staying for 2 hours if you guys ain't watching WrestleMania. So I signed in with my ESPN account on their TV, and we watched Trick Williams with the CVS receipt on the back of his jacket, and they kept bringing up the Pistons and the Tigers, but they did not change the channel. And the Pistons were down by 10, and then only by 6, and then they lost by 11.
Yeah, they did.
And I didn't know. I was years old when I found out they were the number 1 seed. Did not know that.
You know.
2 years ago, they had the worst team in basketball.
And
There's
2 years later,
Red Wings.
Yeah, 2 years later, they're the number 1 seed. And the Detroit Red Wings have got a legacy. They got a history. The Stanley Cup has their names on it, so they'll be back.
11 times.
So we don't have to worry about that stuff. So, I'll give you the floor if you want, but, did you recover from all the commercials you saw on WrestleMania?
Dude.
Did you buy new products?
So a guy asked me, my friend Sean, if I liked WrestleMania. And I said, some I did. I didn't hate anything. To me, I don't know if you agree or if you understand what I'm saying. First of all, my answer was some I liked, some I liked some of it. I didn't dislike any of it. I just really liked some of it. But it did not feel like WrestleMania to me. To see Capital One on the turnbuckle, like put it in the middle turnbuckle at least, like so it looks symmetrical at least, because it looked stupid more than I didn't care that it said Capital One. Either put it on all of them or put it in the middle one so that it's not there and then nothing on the two under it. It looked stupid. And then Wendy's on the banner was dumb. But you know what? I watch hockey, you watch basketball, we both watch football. They do it on all sports. So if you're going to give WrestleMania heat for having advertisers, however, if you're going to have advertisers that are all over the show, you shouldn't also have 4-minute commercials. That's the thing I had a problem with. So for me, it did not feel like WrestleMania, right? Also, for all the talk of everybody saying we don't need celebrities, there was fucking 0 celebrities, and that's one of the reasons why it did not feel like WrestleMania to me. The people in the audience were there to watch. They weren't part of it. Great, George Kittle, Halliburton, Gronk, like those guys were there to watch. And so,
well, they had celebrities in night one used. Jelly Roll and Pat McAfee, they were used.
But they're part of wrestling now at this point. They're not. It wasn't one night only. And then that other dude that was with Trick is there every week. So it's Yachty Boy or something.
Little Yachty.
So that to me, I'm talking like Mary Hartley walking, Pam Anderson walking Shawn, Jenny McCarthy walking Diesel, that kind of stuff. Like, you don't have to do that. But I mean, I want to feel like Stephen A. Smith in the audience is Stephen A. Smith in the audience. Have him come out with The Miz. You know what I mean? Like, they booed him anyway, so he had heat. But it just did not feel like WrestleMania to me. However, and this is ironic because I told people, I don't know if anyone listened, there was one match that reminded me of WrestleMania. There was one match that felt like WrestleMania to me. And it was first. And after that, nothing felt like WrestleMania. And that was the Usos and LA Knight versus the Vision and Little Speed. ISO Speed.
Yeah.
That felt like a WrestleMania match because it reminded me of Bundy and the Midgets versus Hillbilly Jim and the Midgets. It reminded me of Danny Davis and the Hart Foundation versus Tito Santana and the Bulldogs. It reminded me of it just reminded me of the WrestleMania, the pure WrestleManias that you and I grew up watching before it became a sponsor show. And I got one last gripe.
Okay.
I went through WrestleMania 3. I went through WrestleMania 13. Pontiac Silverdome, Rosemont Horizon, Chicago, Illinois. I went through WrestleMania 23, Ford Field in Detroit. I did not go to WrestleMania 33. I believe it was in Orlando. I didn't think I had the money to go. There was that nightclub shooting right around the time that happened. And just everything told me I shouldn't do it. I had someone here living with me. I felt like I was always broke, probably because of her. And in hindsight, I wish I'd have gone. However, I told myself then, I don't care where WrestleMania 43 is. I'm going. WrestleMania 43,
Saudi Arabia.
I ain't going. I might fit in with those sons of guns, but I ain't going. And so that's a bummer to me. But it also makes me feel like at least my streak ended at my own doing and not like I'd probably be upset if I had gone to 33 and was like, I'm going to 43. And no 43 for me.
You know the old saying, never say never. So you might say this now, but you never know. 5 months from now, Reflectionites, he might say, yes, sir, can't believe it. I got a sweet deal. I can't pass this up.
I promise you that's not going to happen because this guy, unless I'm sent there by force, will never, ever visit the Middle East, ever. I would love to go to Israel. I ain't doing it. I am never going to Israel because they'll get annihilated while I'm there. I'm not going to be a part of that.
You know what? To be fair, you do like Khomeini. I'm just saying, you do look like Khomeini. You can make it. You can pass off as Khomeini.
Did you wrap the turban on my head and throw me in a little Jawa robe? I'm in.
There you go.
I don't even need a password. I just nod and they let me in.
That's what I'm saying. Never say.
Speaking to me in foreign languages, thinking I'm one of them. I don't know what the Lebanese they think I am. They think I'm Iraqi, Iranian. I'm not. Turkish. That's what this nose. This nose is part Turkish, part Jewish, I believe. I don't know.
All I'm just saying is never say never. So with that being said, welcome to a Spotlight edition. This is a TW Special Spotlight edition where we do the greatest babyface turns again. This is a sequel, TW. So, I felt it was apropos to give you one of the greatest babyface turns from your neck of the woods, from your golden glory years, from your childhood, the Universal Wrestling Federation, the Mid-South, whatever you want to call it, Reflectionites. And we're going to go back. Yeah, UWF, but they did call themselves Miss South first, all that stuff. So it was a conglomeration, if you will, TW. But we're gonna go back to 1987, the UWF official 1987 edition of this TW, and we're gonna harp on Hot Stuff International, and we're gonna harp on an up and coming youngster right behind me, TW, with the face paint, the war paint, blonde spiked hair, and this is the birth of the icon, the man called Sting. So TW, before we even talk about the angle, we're gonna talk about the untapped potential that Eddie Gilbert saw in this young man here. Because remember, Sting debuted with the Ultimate Warrior. They were called the Blade Runners. They were supposed to be Road Warrior-esque and all that stuff in the Mid-South and the Memphis areas. And Eddie Gilbert, he saw something in both of them. But, of course, Sting and Ultimate Warrior had, visions of grandeur, if you will. They saw solo success. They saw solo money. But Eddie Gilbert tapped onto this young man and did not tap into Ultimate Warrior. I guess Ultimate Warrior wanted to do his own thing. That's why he went down to Texas and World Class and all that stuff. So TW, what say you when you was watching weekly television and seeing Hot Stuff International, this iteration behind my back, Eddie Gilbert, Sting, Missy Hyatt, and the dog-faced gremlin Rick Steiner?
It's a crazy thing to me because I'm going to assume, obviously this podcast has shown that I am a fan of all four people behind you, right? All of them. Big wish for an Eddie Gilbert plethora of action figures. Sting is on my arm, right? Missy Hyatt, I got to be her replacement at a show that she couldn't make. I will always treasure that. She has no idea, but I do. And
wait, hold on. I think you told me this story, but you replaced Missy Hyatt. All the men felt cheated. They're like, wait, we wanted to see tits and ass, and we got a man.
Well,
that's
to be fair.
I
didn't fill her spot.
Oh, okay.
When she didn't make it, they then called me to be a surprise challenger for the heavyweight title because I didn't wrestle for them anymore. I went to the competition, and then I came back. So it was like Paige. I came back, and I won a title. And so that was to make up and send the fans home happy because Missy Hyatt didn't come. I'm not entirely certain anyone would have cared that she was there, to be fair, because I don't even know what she would have done. She didn't wrestle. So she just come out and talk and host the show. It's an indie show. We all got hot dog and a handshake. She took all the money. Lost it. But I am going to assume back in 1987, I know I always love Rick Steiner and Sting, but I'm going to assume I booed them. And so I would like to believe, I know one thing. I do have a memory of one thing, and I'll save it for when we talk about it. But I think Sting's babyface turn worked on me. And I mean, I have been a Sting fan since the UWF, right? So whether or not that was right away or because of the babyface turn, I'm going to assume it's the babyface turn. But it might have been Rick and Sting were the bad guys I love to hate, that kind of thing. But I love Hot Stuff International more than I love Hot Stuff Hyatt International, because Hyatt International was her and John Tatum and Jack Victory, which is funny because Sting, it doesn't look like it behind you, but the matches that we watched to prep for this, Sting looks like a young Jack Victory.
Oh, that's an insult to Sting.
Jacko Victory, former Bushwhacker flag bearer.
Oh, I got you. I'm just saying that's an insult to Sting for Jacko to say he was Jacko Victory because he never had the hot belly.
He looked like Jack Victory worked out.
There you go. That's a better comparison right there. So again, before we even talk about the angle, because this was a hot angle that actually, it's not one thing, Reflectionites. It's actually a building block of a babyface turn, because this is a very unique thing. Because again, TW, when we do these babyface turns or even the heel turn, it's very succinct. It's very instantaneous. But again, we have a young up and coming star in the making in Sting. So TW, in your humble opinion, not even talking about what you saw with the angles, I'm just talking about in Wrestling 101. This is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Do you agree with the professor, or do you have a different take? Because you're building Sting. He doesn't have a rep. He doesn't have a legacy. He doesn't have a reputation. The reputation was he was a henchman in Hot Stuff International. I don't know how on the hierarchy. He was a tag team champion, but he was a henchman in Hot Stuff International. But in the hierarchy, we know now in hindsight, he wasn't highly valued in Hot Stuff International. He was below Rick Steiner. He was below Missy Hyatt and all that stuff. And then Reflectionites, he was even below Terry Taylor, and that's a different, story for another day. But TW, I think it was more than just 1 week. That's what I'm trying to say. You had to do a proper storyline so you get, like you said, the face turn worked on you, but the face turn probably didn't work on everybody in Oklahoma. It didn't work on everybody in Arkansas. You had to see the building blocks of a full babyface turn until 100% of the crowd really rallied behind Sting. Do you agree with that assessment? We have a different take.
Yes, and I think they did a good job of doing it because they did lots of stuff. Like the commentators were doing stuff. The president, who I don't even remember, I do remember Ken Mantell, but I don't remember. I always thought it was Bill Watts was the guy that came out and did stuff like that. So that was throwing me off a little bit.
Bill Watts was the executive producer, but during the TV shows, Ken Mantell was the matchmaker.
Yeah, and then Brother Love is the Tony Schiavone. It's nuts because I didn't remember that at all. I honestly remember Jim Ross. That's why I'm such a Jim Ross guy. He started there. Michael Hayes would do commentating with him. Chris Adams would do it. Terry Taylor would do it. But in one of the clips we watched, it's Magnum TA. I don't even remember that Magnum was doing it. But I didn't know who Magnum TA was. So, but I've talked about it on here before. I do remember Ric Flair would come there and wrestle, and you would have guys from the NWA wrestle there, but you had your core UWF guys.
To answer your question, TW, with this particular segment and face turn, this happened after the purchase Jim Crockett made for UWF. Okay. So it was his. I'm just answering your question there.
But it was before they blended them.
No, this was blending. They bought it, and now is the blending. That's why you saw Magnum.
This is like from August.
Yeah, this is the summer.
They blended at Starrcade, where they killed Terry Taylor's TV title.
Again,
he's not even TV champ yet. Eddie Gilbert's the TV champ.
We'll talk about that. I'm just giving you the logistics. It was purchased. It was Jim Crockett's, and then the blending started with little nuances of like Magnum TA being on weekly commentary with Jim Ross. So with that being said, Reflectionites TW, let's talk about the hot angle that started it all. Because Hot Stuff International, if it wasn't the Freebirds ruling the roost, if you will, Reflectionites in UWF, Hot Stuff International was that technically top 1 or 2 heel group behind Devastation Incorporated and all that stuff. So with that being said, you just said it, Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert is the current UWF television champion. And of course, he wants an open challenge. So Reflectionites, in the instance, Ken Mantell tries to pull a swerve on Hot Stuff TW. And he says, since you want an open challenge, I'm going to pick your opponent. And then they look at the man called Sting, TW. And of course, the crowd is rallying behind that because they want to see the implosion of Hot Stuff International. But again, just like you said, the nuance of how they were telling this, it was a slow burning babyface turn. Do you agree with that? Because Sting was not receptive. He was pro Hot Stuff International. He was like, I'm not going to fall for your traps here. We're going to keep it in the family. I was expecting the finger poke of doom. What say you, TW, about that?
So that's where they start doing it. First, they make Sting wrestle Eddie Gilbert. He didn't turn on Eddie to do it, right? Even though they're heels, and the fans would probably love to see him turn on Eddie, which they inevitably do. He doesn't. So he's showing integrity. He then, he just was innocent bystander. Then Magnum TA or Michael Hayes, I can't remember which one it was. I think it was Michael Hayes, was saying, Sting's kind of like their bodyguard type thing, the tag team guy. They don't ever let this guy talk. Everyone else talks. They hold him back. They keep him in the shadow. So they're showing that he knows his role. Then when the match goes to start and Iceman Parsons is trying to talk him out of it, Eddie Gilbert looks distraught. He gets the microphone, doesn't shit on the crowd, but does say, hey, I don't understand how all you fans here and all you promoters never think I'm going to turn on my back. This guy has helped me to the tag title. He's going to get me back to the tag title. He's my best friend in the UWF. He's my best friend anywhere. I'm not going to wrestle my best friend, but he didn't crap on the fans. He just said, I can't believe you think that of me, that I would do such a thing. And then he goes, Eddie Gilbert, you're the TV champ, and just powders like the honky tonk man, which makes it look like, yeah, I'm not falling for this. You're not going to ruin our family by making me fight my brother. And so that makes him look like he has integrity. Not that these hillbillies in the Mid-South know what integrity is, but you know what I mean.
Of course. But remember the little nuances, and just like you said with the Easter eggs, there were certain things that happened to Sting to get to the situation. And you just said it yourself. He was the tag team champions with the Dogface Graham and Rick Steiner. But during the weeks of UWF television, I don't remember which week per se, they lost it to the Lightning Express. Your guys, Tim Horner and Brad Armstrong, with some chicanery, if you will, some bad miscalculations because of Eddie Gilbert and all that stuff. So, the seeds were planted there. So, TW, what say you? Because, again, Sting was a little bit perturbed, but he understood. It's a bad week. We all have bad weeks. We're going to rebound. And just like you said, with this television title, he was gifted a shot. He didn't want it because he respected Eddie Gilbert. He respected where he took him and all that.
It's in the family. We don't need me to take it from him.
It's not even worth it. So with that being said, and the funny thing is Sting walks out of that television title shot and Sam Houston jumps in to take that spot, if you will, and all that stuff. So TW, the floor is yours with this turn, because again, it's not only because of that, but then with the battles that he had with Chris Adams, the battles that he had with Terry, again, somebody was coming into the Hot Stuff International. That was Terry Taylor. So somebody had to be taken out or kicked out of the group. And unceremoniously, Eddie Gilbert picked Terry Taylor over Sting. So this is why the nuance makes it so great with this. So TW, what say you about all this shit?
So that's something they did that I don't think was good, but I think it shows you that the commentators were trying to start something where there was nothing by saying Eddie Gilbert was jealous of the young tag team that was getting more publicity to him, because Eddie never does any of that. They make Sting fight Eddie and he gets mad, and then Sting doesn't fight him, so there's no reason for Eddie to be mad at him. Eddie's trying to help them win, but Brad Armstrong reverses it. Sting gets hit with the shoe and loses, and I'm pretty sure, I don't remember 100%, but I'm pretty sure Sting didn't blame Eddie the way Terry Taylor blamed Chris Adams when he lost. And if
but to answer that question, because again, remember the UWF Weekly Television, it's not like he was mad at Sting, like, God damn, you suck, you stupid, and all that stuff. But he kind of took that little shot, like, the inexperience, the young, kind of like that kind of thing. He's young and dumb. He's got to learn, he's got to earn his shot.
What I meant to say and forgot is he probably said he didn't blame Eddie, but Eddie didn't need to do that because they had it under control, is the thing that he did, which again is showing honor. Like, this happened because you did something you didn't need to do, but without saying, you're the reason we lost. And if I had one gripe, it would be, and if you recall, I've stated this before, the first time I saw Terry Taylor, I was like, this is a white dude, blonde version of Tito Santana. He did the figure four. He did the flying burrito. He was the TV champ, not the IC champ. A huge Terry Taylor fan. Big fan of his there. DiBiase. I wasn't a real big Dr. Death guy, or Duggan for that matter, but I liked them because the six-mans would be Duggan, DiBiase, and Terry Taylor versus Skandar Akbar's Army or Eddie Gilbert's thing. I think in hindsight, I liked Terry Taylor joining Eddie Gilbert because, again, I might have been cheering for Hot Stuff back then. I would think in 87 at 14, 13 years old, I was probably booing the bad guys. And especially because Sting and Rick Steiner would fight the Fantastics, who I was a huge Fantastics fan. They would fight Terry Taylor and Chris Adams. Huge fan of both of those guys. Also need a Chris Adams figure, but who knows? But I don't like how they turned Terry. because not so much of Terry, because Terry turned. He took the boot and he used it, right?
But he was
Chris
influenced
Adams
by
coming out.
but he was influenced by Eddie Gilbert. You just didn't see it on TV. You just knew Eddie Gilbert.
You knew because Eddie Gilbert got thrown out as the special referee and came back and gave him the boot. And he's like, all right. But what I don't like is Chris Adams then comes out to make the save and talks about Terry Taylor like he's the biggest piece of shit there ever was when you're his partner. Why did you team with him if you thought he was such a piece of shit? And now
that was after the fact, though. That was after the turn happened. So now he wants revenge on Terry Taylor.
When did he turn on Chris Adams?
During the summer of '87.
Before the boot, the thing.
Yeah.
You didn't share that with me, so I didn't know. It looked like that was.
You gotta remember the history, baby. Come on.
Motherfucker, that was 40. That was 40 years ago.
So what? You know this stuff. I'm just saying. But again, I guess we could call it the babyface and heel turns of Sting and Terry Taylor because it all coincides with each other. Reflectionites with that. And the only thing I'll say I didn't like is, and you just named him, Gentleman Chris Adams. But you needed somebody to prop up Sting. So I guess, he was trial by fire. He was the man that drew the small straw, if you will, Reflectionites. It's just that the way he said it was almost like, I still don't trust you, but the enemy of my enemy is my friend because we have a common enemy. So in that commonality, and the UWF crowd, because of what Chris Adams said, Reflectionites, gave a seal of approval for Sting to become that babyface. You agree with that, TW, or have a different take?
Yes, but it was very Rick Martel AWA in how he did it. It was not a good promo.
Well, that British accent really.
And the ending was even worse because Sting just nodded his head, which is awesome because it's very Sting, very Ultimate Warrior. Simple to the point, nod his head, the crowd pop for it. And then he goes, that's all I wanted to know. Then gets out and they leave together like they're a tag team. That was kind of rushed. But it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. So, let's go back to that tag team title match because, again, the Lightning Express, Tim Horton and Brad Armstrong, because of Eddie Gilbert's mess up here at TW, cost Sting and Rick Steiner the UWF tag team titles. Again, untapped potential tag team there. But after the fact, you saw the push-offs. You saw the push-off between Sting and Eddie Gilbert because, again, Eddie Gilbert on the mic kind of like talked down to Sting and did not value his opinion. But during that, confrontation with each other, he said something that we couldn't hear, but Sting knew he had to get that big push off and all that stuff. And then Rick Steiner had to be trying to be peacemaker because, again, he loves Eddie Gilbert. But again, you got to pick the guy that's greasing your pockets and all that stuff. So it is what it is there. So,
and it was pre-special needs Rick Steiner. He was showing hints of it, but he still had mismatched boots.
He had mismatched boots, but
very Rick Bogner looking Rick Steiner.
1987 Rick Steiner was untapped potential because I looked at that. I looked at his stature. I looked at the way he moved. And again, he could go. If he could have been a UWF television champion himself. I don't know if he could have been the UWF heavyweight champion, but that's neither here nor there.
Too short.
Too short. Well, he's too stocky. I don't know about too short and all.
Dude, he's shorter than Missy Hyatt. Look behind you. He's shorter than Eddie Gilbert.
That is fucked up. Right? Remember, he's kneeling down. So that's the thing we got to say here. So with that being said, Sting now is full-fledged into this, and now he has a program against Hot Stuff International Reflectionites. So what does he do? He's got to go after the television champion. He's got to go after Eddie Gilbert. And during the weeks, TW, and then it leads up to Starrcade 87, where Sting needs backup with Freebird, Michael P.S. Hayes, and Jimmy Jam Garvin. They weren't the Freebirds just yet, but he just needed some backups to go against Eddie Gilbert, Rick Steiner, and then they called a friend of their own, Larry Zbyszko, and all that stuff. So we can parlay all that into one thing. So, and we saw, for Starrcade 87, Chicago, Illinois, that was the launching point. The world was introduced because, again, the UWF crowd, Reflectionites, was Southern. They had Starrcade was in Chicago. So we're talking about AWA territory. We talk about WWF territory where the fans know there's more wrestling. and the fans were introduced to Sting. They were introduced to the athleticism. They were introduced to untapped potential. And like I say in the beginning of this introduction, the birth of the icon starts. TW, what say you about all that?
I say our next episode should be us reviewing that Starrcade.
Starrcade 87? I think we did, but we'll find a way. We'll
what was the
back to
main? Nikita versus Flair? Nope, Nikita fought Jerry Taylor.
Yeah, it was Ronnie Garvin against Ric Flair. Number 5.
We didn't cover that one.
I have to check the archives. Maybe Donnie Day one could confirm or deny that we did Starrcade 87, but neither here nor there. So, TW, with that being said,
the reason I say that is to answer your actual question. I don't even remember that match. My introduction to Sting, and I think how he got the shot, I don't even remember how he got the shot, was the very first Clash versus Flair, 45-minute draw, just to put on free TV to compete against WrestleMania. And Sting stole everyone's hearts that night, right? Even though it's a weird time limit. You go 30, you go 60, but these guys went 45. It just... because I think it was TV time remaining. That's why it was 45 minutes. Like, it wasn't announced as 45. It was announced as TV time remaining. So I don't remember this match. I do remember Terry versus Nikita, which I believe he was squashed. It wasn't like over.
You talking about Starrcade?
Yeah.
No, it was competitive. It went back and forth.
But I don't think Terry was a heel.
He was a heel at Starrcade. Yeah. He was managed by
maybe I just didn't care, and I was cheering for Terry Taylor and mad that he lost. Because I always wonder, if he would have won, would it still be called the UWF TV title? No, that's why he didn't win, right? And I think Dr. Death unified the UWF World title with the Western States against Barry Windham, which was weird.
No, the Western States, remember I told you this. It lasted longer than the UWF title. It was phased.
But Dr. Death wrestled Barry Windham. And it was
at
for
Starrcade.
the Western States Heritage title.
No, it was for the Western States champion was the number 1 contender for the UWF championship. It was a UWF title match at Starrcade. Dr. Death was on.
And then what happened to it?
It got phased out, but the Western States lasted longer than
unified.
No.
And Dr. Death won.
Yes.
That Barry just never won a world title. Damn.
He did win a world title. He won the NWA world title.
That's not NWA. That's that stupid Rick Rude belt, dude. It don't count.
The relationship, by the time Barry had that belt, it was a relationship. It was the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. But anyway.
3. Muda was the third one?
Chono, Buddha, and Wyndham.
I mean, Muda never won a world title. We never talked about him being on the list.
He was a New Japan champion. IWGP.
That ain't no world championship.
Yes, it is.
That's like NXT UK, dude. That ain't no world championship.
Jesus Christ.
A triple A title.
We're going off the rails, TW. This is the way we do this here. But now let's do a curveball here, because again, there's really nothing left to talk about with this babyface turn, because again, this is the birth of the icon Sting. And the funny thing, TW, is because of this babyface turn that happened in 1987, he never looked back. The fans just loved him. No matter what decade, no matter what organization, the fans cheered him. And twice they attempted to turn Sting into a heel. Tony, they tried the commentating and saying, why did Sting do this? Why, oh, why? And then, of course, TNA. He joined the Main Event Mafia, but he was the only guy in the Main Event Mafia that was cheered while everybody else was booed out the building. So, TW, the question is asked here. Why did the fans refuse to accept a heel turn from Sting?
I mean, it's the same thing with Randy Orton now. They just like him. You're not going to boo someone you like. And around 87, 88, definitely in the 90s with TNA, it's not unheard of for bad guys to get cheered. I mean, you can thank Stone Cold, but it happened before him. It was absolutely, like I said, I had a list. I don't know if you did this in New Jersey, but you got textbooks for your senior year, your junior year, and they taught you how to make those paper covers over them so that they got protected, and then you would write on there whatever you wanted. and I would write on there my top 5 or top 10 favorite wrestlers, and almost every time the top 5, they were always bad guys except for Bret. Like Bret would be a babyface, he'd be on the list. Oh, actually, I don't remember when Bret turned babyface. 89?
Officially, no, it was 88 with Bad News Brown.
That was 88. So yeah, because that's when I started doing it. So Bret would have been on that list as a babyface. Macho Man was on the list. Rick Rude was on that list. Mr. Perfect was on that list. Lex Luger was on that list. Those guys were all on the list as heels. And Sting is like, I wish, like, when I say the name, when I say what I'm about to say, you're gonna know what I'm talking about. There's one wrestler, and I'm sure he probably wrestled heel somewhere in a territory. But on TV, there's one wrestler that everyone talks about who was always a babyface his entire career, and who was Steamboat, right? And I would probably say Tito was probably a babyface this whole time, but Steamboat is the poster child for career babyface. You know, I wish Sting could have been. But he started out as a heel, so he couldn't right from the rip because he was a heel to start.
But again, but it begs the question: why do the fans, when they attempted it? Because again, Vince McMahon, and I'll go back to the WWF days, TW, can manipulate the fans, and this is with the Hulk Hogan syndrome. If you betray Hulk Hogan, you're already a bad guy. You know what I'm saying? So it didn't work when it became, into the 90s with Sid Vicious at Royal Rumble, because Hogan was booed out of the building. They wanted Sid Vicious to be the man. But Vince McMahon found a way to manipulate it just enough for Hogan to still remain a good guy. But of course, you and I have been talking about he's been a quintessential bad guy, but people just were too blinded to see it. But anyway, neither here nor there. But with Sting, as we parlayed into the 90s, in 1999, it's funny because when they attempted that when they attempted that heel turn against Hulk Hogan, they thought that formula would work. But Hulk Hogan was becoming a good guy again after the NWO years, so it didn't have enough legs, and the crowd just did not want to accept it because, like you said, no matter what Sting did, he put the bat to Hogan. He beat the shit up out of Hogan with the bat. He could have put him on a stretcher, and the fans would have cheered Sting and say, "Let's go Sting, let's go Sting," and all that stuff. Now, the funny thing about TNA, I'm going to put this both together. Sting was pissed off at the young guys. So it was a passionate, I would call it, heel turn. But he had a point. He was tired of the young guys feeling entitled. He was tired of the young guys not giving the effort. And of course, somebody had to take the mantle for the young guys, and it was AJ Styles and Samoa Joe and all that stuff. But again, even the Impact Zone, as knowledgeable as TNA fans tried to be, same rules applied. We can't boo Sting out the building. We just love him so much, and we can understand his gripes with the young guys. We can understand his frustration with the young guys. So we found a way, and we found excuses for ourselves to say we will refuse. I think like what happened with Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes, like you said, we just love Randy Orton. He's got a legacy. That's 25 years of a legacy. So it doesn't matter what he does. Even if he does dastardly shit, we're going to cheer it. But I think it's different because when you're attempting to heal it up and all that stuff, there is a mission statement, TW. You want to boo him out the building. We just refuse. Some other people, we will eventually boo them. But Sting was the one person that never worked, even when you tried. That's what I'm trying to say.
I think I know why. If Randy Orton did everything he did to Cody Rhodes to Obafemi, they would boo Randy Orton. But Cody Rhodes is starting to feel to those fans who love him, because there's that silent or loud minority who are AEW and WWE fans who felt like Cody was the underdog. Well, now that he's been in 5 WrestleManias already, which is absolutely insane, main eventing 4 of them, and you could almost argue him versus Seth was a main event because it was hyped up and it was a big deal and the worst kept secret in wrestling. I think it's partially because they're trying to get Cody to turn heel, which is also what they tried to do in AEW, ironically enough. I think with Sting, one of the sweet spots for TNA to exist in the beginning at all, because it probably should have failed, but one of the reasons it didn't is, one, because they kept bleeding money and they just kept going without stopping when they should have cut their losses and started over with something else. And two, it wasn't WWE. Turning Sting bad guy, especially against a Hogan or, somebody who they're tired of, felt WWF-ish. And they're like, nope. The WWF would make Sting a bad guy. We love him. We're cheering for him. Much the same as when they cheered for Austin when he's a bad guy. When they cheered for The Rock, even though they hated him as a babyface, they cheered for him as a bad guy. And then, be careful what you ask for, because you cheered for him, they turned him good. And that's why we have revisionist history, your favorite thing to say. Austin and Rock, as big as they are, they're obviously 1 and 1A for Attitude Era. For, Goldberg had his moment, Hogan and you had their moments, but consistently on top, Austin, Rock. There's a reason both of them were bad guy, good guy, bad guy, good guy, bad. Because people got sick of them too. We just don't talk about it. We act like people loved them from day one and were sad when they retired. No, they started booing The Rock because they got sick of him being the push down your throat guy. Cheered for Austin. When Austin became that, they booed him and cheered for The Rock again. That's why they were almost never on the same side. One of them had to be the bad guy, one had to be the good guy.
It's funny you say that, because for Sting's career, he wasn't pushed down your throat, even though he was the WCW champion many times. But he always felt like he got swept aside. And then it happened initially in 94. He got shortchanged, and then Hogan came in and Randy Savage came in. So the people felt like, damn, you're shitting on Sting business-wise, internally, and all that stuff. So we have to rally with Sting. And I forget about this because I'm talking about 1999 TW, and I'm talking about TNAs with the youth movement and all that shit. That didn't work either. But let's not forget 1996, the birth of the NWO. What they did with Sting, because remember, technically, you heard his voice in the limousine, Reflectionites. You heard him talking to trillionaire Ted and shit like that. And then there was a Sting that beat the shit out of Lex Luger. But again, what they did with the NWO Sting and shit like that. But to become the Crow Sting, remember, Sting did talk a little shit. He was a little bit mad at everybody. He was mad at everybody in WCW. He was mad at the fans that didn't believe in him and all that stuff. But it didn't work because then the character was so nuanced. It was so new. It was like he needed a fresh coat of paint. So we even loved him for even the shit that he was accused of. And then when we found out he was innocent of all charges, he was even the icon legacy even grew bigger. What say you about that?
But that's the endearing thing. That's Austin. He wasn't even as a heel. He wasn't hanging out with other heels. He was a lone wolf. He was out for himself. DTA, don't trust anybody. And Sting was like, dude, how dare you accuse me of that? I'm Sting. I've never turned my back on anybody, including Eddie Gilbert back in 1987 when they gave me a free TV title shot I didn't earn. But no, he was mad because people didn't believe in him.
But in hindsight, again, in 2026, the IWC is so critical of shit, how you say it, what you say, how it's executed. He says that today. What do we say now about Sting? If he said, I don't believe, I can't believe you fans didn't believe me. Some of these IWC Mark neckbeards would be like, yeah, I know that, but you suck, or something like that.
We don't trust the writing.
There you go. We don't trust the writing.
We want Road Dogg back. We talked about how shitty SmackDown was for the last 5 years, but you did him dirty, and we want Road Dogg back. People are idiots.
Well, you know what they're saying on Twitter, who they also want back. Vince McMahon.
No, 5 people want him back, and 10 people retweeted it. That's it. Nobody wants this. Think about this. It's funny you would say that because Brock Lesnar has been mostly booed because he's a heel, but also there were cheers And the second that dude took off his boots and his gloves, that crowd started chanting, "Thank you, Brock." All these people, you put a fucking criminal on TV, you put a rapist on TV, just guilty until proven so. I look at it like, I don't even know what he's accused of because he was in an email between Vince or whatever. You would think Sable would have left him if there was anything substantial that is gross or whatever. And so, but it's funny how these same people who, I can't believe you're putting that guy on TV, are the same one. Because think about this. WrestleMania was not 50,000 Nevadans. It was people from all over the world who all go on the internet and all can do better than the guys that are doing it in the room with the pen, right? The second he takes the boots and the gloves off, cries a little bit. Paul cries. They chant, "Thank you, Brock." They tell, "You're the man." They shake his hand, which was funny because I saw him. Like, I've never seen him slap thighs. Maybe when he was younger, when he was supposed to.
No, he's been slapping thighs for the last couple of years.
I just never noticed it. I'm saying,
yeah.
But I saw it and I thought, I'm glad they chanted that, but it just goes to show you how hollow all these high horse, get on your soapbox people are. The second it goes down, they're like, "Oh, we've always loved you." We just booing them because they're supposed to. No, you're chanting death threats. You were not booing them because you're supposed to. They're just all phonies. They're all phonies, is what they are.
Hey, you know what? Daniel Bryan said it best. The word is fickle. It is what it is, right? That. So before
what's he doing? What's he doing now?
Oh, he's training Brie mode to make sure that she has a great, credible run in WWE.
He's not AEW no more?
He is. But, he has to train his wife to make sure that
what does he do for AEW, I'm saying?
Commentator. You don't watch Dynamite.
I don't watch. He's not Dynamite commentary?
Yes. Jesus Christ.
With that idiot with the mask?
Yes.
Who's gone?
Nobody. They just
is there 7 guys on commentating?
They rotate commentators sometimes.
It's different every week?
Not every week, but when
it's they're always Excalibur's dumbass. I got to ask you the same question I asked Travis, Matt, and Gregory.
Okay.
As we're watching WrestleMania and texting each other throughout it. I don't know if it was CM Punk versus Reigns or Cody versus Randy, but I said, "Do you think Tony Khan and Darby Allin are watching this together in their underwear?" How did you not lead with the most, and I don't even want to say polarizing, because I've mostly seen negative reactions, not only to that dude winning the title, but squashing MJF? How do we not lead with this? That's usually when we do talk about other wrestling is the beginning.
Well, I'll defend it with these words: long-term storytelling. But if
he's one of the 4 pillars, right?
Of course, yeah.
I believe Jungle Boy, Sammy Guerrero, whatever, who is arguably next to Ricky Starks the most poorly used guy they have is Sammy Guerrero. And is the 4th one Orange County or is it MJF?
MJF.
So MJF and Darby have it. Does this mean Jungle Boy and Sammy are going to get it?
Never say never. But with that being said, TW, I want to end this on the high note here. I want to end it on the Sting note because, again, we go off the rails here for some reason.
I brought it up because of Sting. What, didn't he show up for Darby a little bit ago? Like recently, wasn't he on Dynamite? Yeah. That makes me sad because that means he's probably nowhere near a WWE Legends deal to get me some more action figures.
He has an AEW Legends deal, so he's good.
When does it expire? It ain't good. They don't even have a toy maker anymore.
He's got a Legends deal with AEW. They're going to take care of him for life as long as AEW is in business. So, with that being said,
gross.
I'm gonna spin this with a what if, TW. So put your thinking hat on with this, because the what if is, out of everybody in Hot Stuff International, Jim Crockett knew that. Well, I don't know if it was Jim Crockett or Dusty Rhodes. They knew lightning in the bottle was with the untapped potential of Sting. But if Bill Watts wanted to kind of like take the books away from Jim Crockett, TW, do you think there would have been legs if the man behind me on my left, Rick Steiner, got all the pomp and circumstances of a babyface turn and not Sting? And Sting stayed true with Hot Stuff International, stayed true with the UWF storylines. Could it have worked with Rick Steiner initially? Why not?
Because Sting has charisma that Rick Steiner does not have. I talked about how they said they never let him talk. The first time he grabs that microphone, first time, I'm sure he said something one-liner when they said, tell him Sting or something. He said, I can't believe all you fans and all you promoters thought I would do that to him, that the Stinger would turn his back on his best friend. He called himself, he had enough forethought to not just say Sting, but say Stinger, which is what you need. Hulk, Hulkster. Ultimate Warrior, Warrior. You know, Macho Man, Mach. You know, whatever. Just, he called himself something that sounded cooler than just calling himself by his name.
He thought off the fly. He thought off the fly to brand himself and say Stinger. I got you.
And Rick Steiner would have just been, and that's it. And all the proof you need, regardless of the Sting aspect, they did turn Rick Steiner babyface, not far into the UWF merging when he was Varsity Club, and they treated him like an idiot, and then he turned good guy, and they liked it as long as he was beating up Kevin Sullivan, Mike Rotunda, and Dr. Death, but they didn't give a shit about him otherwise. But when he was with his brother in the tag team, they loved him.
All right. Cool.
But Rick Steiner on his own, even the stuff he did in NXT with his son, not good stuff. And I don't even think Braun would be a good babyface. They're just natural heels. And I like Rick Steiner as the, what's the word? Apprehensive. You know, like, he's a heel, but because someone's making him be a heel, not because he wants to. He's being taken advantage of, if you will. Which sets up the babyface term, but just he doesn't have enough charisma to sustain it.
Well, I can't dispute that, TW. I just wanted to see if there was a what-if scenario for Rick Steiner to kind of like turn babyface during the Hot Stuff International days.
Yeah,
and
he does it by bringing in Scott and the Steiner brothers form earlier. That's how. Because Scott was the reason they were over. He was a nice compliment to Scott, but Scott was the reason. The second that dude did the first Frankensteiner that anyone ever saw in their life, they were made men.
Yeah, Steiner had to be associated with somebody.
Yeah.
He cannot carry the mantle himself. So I got you with
had
that.
to be carried, yeah.
So with my final thought,
I would say the same about Dynamite Kid.
That's true, yeah.
People loved him as a wrestler, but he was the shits on the microphone.
Yeah, that is true. So it's funny, TW. So in closing, Jim Crockett paid maybe like $5 million for UWF for only one person. That was Sting.
He paid $5 million to buy the UWF.
He overpaid. I don't know if it was $5 million, but he
that's double what WCW got sold for.
But again, he paid a lot for the territories, but he only paid $5 million for Sting. Everybody else kind of got absorbed out or phased out.
Terry Taylor, Dr. Death, Terry Gordy, Rick Steiner,
but not consistently. Not consistently.
Eddie Gilbert took the book.
I'm just saying, but not consistently. Consistently,
Sting is absolutely the cherry on top of the cake. Long-term storytelling. He's definitely the prize. But if DiBiase was still there, it would have been DiBiase. You know, Dr. Death, he's another one. I love him. God rest his soul. Zero charisma. Zero.
All right. So with that,
he did good comebacks, but he did. He didn't talk people into the seats. Duggan did, but wasn't that great a wrestler.
Well, he didn't have to talk. Jim Ross did the talking for Dr. Death. So with that being said, we close on this Spotlight edition, Babyface Turn edition here on the PWR podcast, UWF style with Sting in 1987. So what we're going to do next week, I'll keep you on your toes, Reflectionites. I'll keep you on your toes. Maybe we'll do a Rivalries edition. Maybe, TW, we might have to do a year in pro wrestling. So I have to pick the right year at the right time and all that stuff. So with that being said, TW, give out, you need glasses for the socials? Oh my God. Give out those socials so we can get out of here.
I'm about to read my Bible because I've been showing off my new chair I got. And I was reading my physical Bible in my basement again, Monday through Friday, because reading it on your phone, you get distracted when people text you or message you, or your video game warnings come up and emails and all that. So I'm going to read my Bible down here with my new chair.
Nice. Well, enjoy yourself. So give out those socials so you can read the Bible afterwards.
All right. You can follow us by following the Pro Wrestling Coalition Network at PWC Network at Podbean.com, where you can also find HAMIN Media Group at Podbean.com. Our show is on X at PW Reflection. I talked about Travis. So he's at Nuts and Volts PW. That's Nuts and VOELTZ PW. And Big Ray can be found all over the internet, and you can find him by just typing in Big Ray Hernandez as one giant word, and you'll find him. And every Wednesday, he does the NXT review Next Level live on the YouTube. You can find me on Instagram and X at TommyWonder19. Snapchat is #Wonder. Facebook.com/Tommy Wonder. And my other X and TikTok is at the Tommy Wonder. And you can find Big Vito and Noel at Big Vito Brand, where I'm sure he talks about how he had to handle Boogie Woogie Jimmy Valiant at an autograph signing.
Yeah, he did look like Boogie Woogie, man. So. Just remember, do not be drunk and go face to face with Big Vito. That's all I'm just going to say. Public service announcement. So with that being said, follow me on my X at PWSOPRF. That's PWSOPRF. Follow me on the Blue Sky at PWSOPRF.bsky.social. And of course, tell a friend to tell a friend. We're at 168 subscribers. So subscribe to the Pro Wrasslin Reflection YouTube channel at Pro Wrasslin Reflection. So again, next week I'm just going to keep you on your toes. But again, I'm leaning maybe towards a rivalries or maybe a year in pro wrestling edition. So I'll let TW know, and then we'll have some fun with that. So with that being said, I'm the Professor. That's Mr. Wonderful, the Iron Stomach One, the undisputed, undeniable Detroit Rock City Universal Heavyweight Champion of the World. Tommy Wonder saying good night. We'll see you next time here at the PWR Podcast at the HAMIN Media Group at Podbean.com. Peace. Ow! Oh, that's good. Now you got me. Now you got me going right there. Good.
I know you want to be done in time for NBA games.